On a cold morning in Boston, an old carpenter stood before a locked storefront, gripping his worn hammer. Inside waited a small wooden box, his daughter's final message before disappearing from his life. Then a wealthy stranger called his name on Tremont Street, setting in motion a life-changing story of forgiveness, second chances, and the quiet redemption buried in forgotten places. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you are watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. Henry Walker stood on the corner of Tremont Street with his worn hammer hanging at his side, the cold Boston wind slipping through the seams of his coat. Morning traffic moved around him, buses hissing, delivery trucks rumbling, people rushing past with steaming coffee cups. But Henry wasn't looking at any of them. His eyes were fixed on the old hardware shop across the street, the place where he had spent most of his life. The sign that once read Walker & Son Carpentry Supply was gone, replaced by a sleek black banner advertising luxury retail opportunities. The windows were dusty, the interior empty, but Henry could still see the outlines of counters he had built himself, shelves his father once sanded by hand, and the workbench where his daughter used to sit humming while he shaped wood into small pieces of hope. A real estate agent stood nearby, talking animatedly to a young man in a tailored gray suit. She had spoken to Henry earlier that morning, her polite smile barely hiding her impatience. "I'm sorry, sir," she'd said, eyes flicking over his old boots. "The seller wants a single investor for the entire block, someone with capacity. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal." The words stung more than he let her see. Now she laughed with the man in the suit, pointing to the buildings one by one as if they were pieces on a game board. The man nodded, confident, his watch glinting in the pale sun. Henry felt small watching them, like a ghost wandering the street he once kept alive with his own hands. He stepped closer to the curb, debating whether to try again, to beg for the chance to buy just that one shop. Not for profit, not for business, but because something precious, something tied to his daughter, still waited behind its locked door. As he hesitated, the man in the suit suddenly turned, his gaze landing directly on Henry. His expression shifted, surprised, unsure, almost recognizing. He walked toward Henry with purposeful steps. "Mr. Walker?" he asked, stopping in front of him. "Henry Walker, the carpenter from Tremont Street?" Henry froze. The past had finally spoken his name. Henry didn't move at first. Hearing his own name from a stranger felt like someone had brushed dust off a memory he wasn't ready to face. The man in the suit stepped closer, his earlier laughter gone, the "for sale" sign hanging loosely from his hand. "Mr. Walker," he repeated, softer this time. "Henry Walker, the carpenter from Tremont Street?" Henry's fingers tightened around the hammer. "Do I know you?" The man shook his head. "No, but I know who you are." He paused, almost as if choosing his words carefully. "I'm Lucas Grant. My father. He used to talk about you." Grant. The name stirred something, faint, half-buried. Henry had built shelves for a family with that name long ago, back when he still believed he could give his daughter a better life, with nothing but wood, nails, and sweat. Lucas noticed the flicker in Henry's eyes. "You made a set of oak shelves for our house. My dad said they'd outlive all of us." A small smile tugged at his mouth. He was right, they're still there. Henry looked away. Praise was something he no longer knew what to do with. Behind Lucas, a few co-workers watched with smirks, expecting another joke at the old man's expense. Lucas shot them a sharp look, and the smirks faded. Henry lifted his chin. "If you came here to laugh—" "I didn't," Lucas cut him off. "I wanted to understand something." He glanced at the closed storefront across the street. "Why are you fighting so hard to buy that place? Everyone else walked away." Henry exhaled slowly. He hadn't planned to say anything, not to anyone, especially not to a wealthy-looking man with polished shoes and an easy smile. "It's not the shop," he muttered. "It's what's still inside." Lucas frowned. "Inside? What do you mean?" Henry's voice dropped. "Something my daughter left behind. Something I never returned." Lucas blinked, taken aback. "Your daughter? Is she—" Henry cut him off with a tired shake of his head. "She's alive. Just gone." The silence between them thickened, the city buzzing faintly around its edges. Lucas didn't speak at first. He just studied Henry's face, the tightened jaw, the heaviness in his shoulders, the way his thumb brushed the hammer like it was a lifeline. Then he glanced back at the boarded-up storefront, as if trying to piece together a story he didn't yet know how to read. "What did she leave inside?" Lucas finally asked, his voice quieter than before. Henry swallowed. "A box. Wooden. Small." He paused, gathering breath. "I built it for her when she was 7. Told her she could put anything she wanted inside. Dreams, secrets, whatever made her feel safe." Lucas softened. "And she did?" Henry nodded once. "Every night. Notes, drawings, pieces of her life." He hesitated. "The last thing she put there was a letter, the night before she left." A bus rumbled past, rattling the street. Henry's eyes drifted toward the shop windows. Grimy, forgotten, unchanged. "I locked the door that night thinking I'd open it in the morning. But she never came back, and the shop, it hasn't been opened since the day I closed it." Lucas exhaled slowly. "So you're not trying to buy a building? You're trying to get back something you lost?" Henry's jaw tightened. "I'm trying to return what I took too long to give back." For a moment, neither spoke. A group of passers-by crossed behind them, laughing, unaware of the weight between the two men. Henry shifted, suddenly aware of how tired his legs felt. "Why not tell the agent all this?" Lucas asked gently. Henry shook his head. "People don't want stories. They want numbers." Lucas pressed his lips together, thoughtful. His co-workers called his name from the corner, already impatient. He ignored them. "Mr. Walker," he said after a moment, "if there's something in that shop you need, maybe there's another way." Henry's brow furrowed. "What way?" Lucas didn't answer immediately. His eyes returned to the row of buildings, measuring them with a different kind of gaze. Less business, more possibility. Before Henry could speak again, Lucas asked, "Do you trust me for 1 hour?" Henry stood still, unsure whether he was hearing a stranger or a door from the past opening again. Henry didn't answer right away. Trust wasn't something he handed out easily, not anymore. Lucas waited, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed but eyes steady, as if he knew rushing would only push the old man away. 1 hour for what? Henry finally asked. Lucas gestured down the street. "Walk with me." Henry hesitated, then followed slowly, as if each step came with its own argument. They moved past shuttered storefronts, faded awnings, and old brick walls Henry had patched more times than he could count. Lucas paused in front of the third building on the block, a narrow space with dusty windows and a metal gate pulled halfway down. "My company has been negotiating to buy this entire row," Lucas said. "Not for luxury shops, not for condos." He turned toward Henry. "For restoration, real restoration. Community spaces, local businesses, trades, workshops, spaces with purpose." Henry frowned, suspicious. "People don't pay investors to do nice things." Lucas smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised. Not everyone with money is trying to hollow out a city block." Henry grunted, unconvinced. Lucas continued, "But here's the problem. The seller wants a single buyer for the entire street. One signature, one check." He pointed toward the building Henry wanted. "And I'm the only one still in the running." Henry stiffened. "So you're here to tell me to give up?" "No," Lucas said, meeting his eyes. "I'm here to ask what it's worth to you. What that box, and whatever your daughter left inside, truly means." Henry's breath faltered. He looked down the street, past the parked cars, to the quiet doorway that held decades of memories and mistakes. "It's all I have left to give her," he murmured. Lucas nodded slowly as if he had expected that answer. "Then let me propose something." Henry's eyes lifted, waiting. Lucas stepped closer, lowering his voice. "If I buy the street, I'll sign over the deed to your building. Free. No conditions." Henry blinked, stunned. "Why would you do that?" Lucas glanced away for the first time, his jaw tightening in a way that hinted at his own buried wounds. "Because," he said quietly, "you built something for my family that lasted. Maybe I'm just returning the favor." Henry's grip tightened on the hammer, not out of fear, but because hope, after so long, felt almost too heavy to carry. Henry stared at Lucas, trying to understand if the man was joking or simply far kinder than life usually allowed. "You'd give me the deed?" he asked, his voice barely steady. Lucas nodded. "If you'll let me handle the negotiations. The seller trusts big buyers more than individuals." He paused, then added, "But I don't want your money. I want your story. I want to know why this matters enough for you to stand in the cold with a hammer in your hand." Henry exhaled, breath clouding in the November air. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," Lucas said. They stopped beside a brick wall Henry had repaired 20 years earlier. The mortar lines were still his, straight, careful, a little too perfect. He ran his fingers along them, tracing a life he'd built with hands that were shaking now. "My daughter's name is Emily," Henry said quietly. "She grew up in that shop. Used to sit on the workbench with her feet swinging, drawing while I worked. She said the place smelled like sawdust and safety." Lucas watched him with a stillness that didn't feel intrusive. "When she was 16, Henry continued, I started taking too many jobs, trying to make ends meet after her mother died. I missed her plays, her birthdays, and even her graduation." His voice thinned. "One night we argued. She said I cared more about wood than her. She left, and I didn't chase her." Lucas swallowed, the words hitting him harder than he expected. "She came by the shop once after that," Henry said. "Late, I wasn't there. She left the box on the counter and locked the door behind her. The next morning I found it, but I couldn't open it. I thought I still had time. I thought she'd come back." Lucas's brow furrowed gently. "And she didn't?" "Not once in 3 years," Henry whispered. "But that box is still in there. And whatever she wrote, I need to return it to her. Not as a carpenter, as her father." A breeze pushed down the street, stirring loose leaves around their feet. Lucas looked back toward the row of buildings, jaw tightening with a growing sense of purpose. "Then we're getting you inside that shop," he said. And for the first time that day, Henry let himself believe it might be possible. Lucas led the way toward the corner of the block, where a black SUV waited with tinted windows and a driver who looked surprised to see his boss approaching with an old Carpenter in tow. Lucas opened the back door but didn't get in. "We're not going far," he told the driver. "Just stay close." Henry hesitated on the sidewalk. He wasn't used to riding in expensive cars. He'd spent his life behind pickup trucks and borrowed vans, but Lucas waved off his discomfort with a simple gesture. "This isn't about money," he said. "It's about access." They walked instead, side by side, toward a glass building across the intersection, the temporary office of the seller's real estate company. Henry glanced at the polished windows, catching his reflection beside Lucas. One man in a worn coat, the other in a tailored suit. They looked like two different worlds walking toward the same storm. Inside, the lobby was warm, smelling of espresso and new carpet. The receptionist blinked at Henry, clearly startled by the hammer still hanging from his hand. Lucas gave a reassuring nod. "We're here to see Mr. Donnelly," Lucas said, his voice crisp with authority. The receptionist straightened instantly. "Of course, Mr. Grant, I'll let him know you've arrived." Henry leaned closer, whispering, "He knows you?" Lucas shrugged. "We've been negotiating for weeks, but I haven't pushed the final offer yet." Henry frowned. "Why not?" Lucas didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied the elevator doors, their polished metal reflecting a version of himself he didn't quite trust. Only after a beat did he say, "Because something felt wrong about buying a street with so much history without understanding who built it." The elevator dinged. Henry shifted his weight, uneasy. "You don't owe me anything," he muttered. Lucas turned to him. "Maybe not, but I owe the city something, and I owe my father's memory something too." The elevator doors slid open, revealing a long hallway and a man waiting at the far end. Tall, sharp-eyed, clearly annoyed at being summoned. "Lucas," the man said, "I wasn't expecting—" Then his gaze landed on Henry, and the temperature in the room dropped. Not cold, but cautious, curious, calculating. "Who's this?" the man asked. Lucas inhaled slowly. "The reason we're here." Henry stood straighter, gripping the hammer not for defense but for grounding, as if the past he carried in his hands was about to collide with the future waiting in the next sentence. The hallway felt too bright, too polished, too far from the world Henry knew. Mr. Donnelly stepped forward, adjusting the cuff of his expensive shirt as he sized Henry up with a practiced businessman's glance. "So," Donnelly said, "this is the man who's been trying to buy one of my properties with an envelope of cash." Henry felt heat rise in his cheeks, but Lucas stood beside him, shoulders squared. "He's more than that," Lucas said firmly. "And before we finalize anything, you're going to hear him out." Donnelly raised an eyebrow. "Lucas, I don't negotiate based on sentimental—" "You negotiate based on value," Lucas interrupted. "And what this man represents has value to this street." Henry swallowed hard. Being spoken for felt strange, uncomfortable, but Lucas's presence gave him just enough courage to speak. "I worked on those buildings," Henry said quietly. "All of them. Long before you bought them. I patched their roofs, fixed their doors, kept their walls standing through winters that tried to tear them down." Donnelly crossed his arms. "And you want a discount because of nostalgia?" Henry shook his head. "I don't want a discount. I want one room. My daughter left something inside before she ran from me. I need to return it to her." He paused. "That's all." For the first time, Donnelly's expression shifted, only slightly, but enough to reveal a flicker of human curiosity beneath the business armor. Lucas stepped forward. "Here's my proposal. I'm prepared to buy the whole street at full price. Today. But one condition goes into the contract. The deed for that single storefront transfers directly to Henry Walker." Donnelly blinked. "You'd give away part of your purchase?" "Yes," Lucas said, "because community matters more than square footage." Silence stretched between them. Then Donnelly looked at Henry again, really looked, and something in his expression softened. "You care that much?" he asked. Henry nodded once. "It's the only thing I've done wrong that I still have a chance to fix." Donnelly exhaled sharply, then turned to Lucas. "Fine, draft the addendum. If your funds clear, the building is his." Henry froze. The hammer slipped slightly in his grasp. Lucas smiled. "Looks like we have a deal." Henry's vision blurred for a moment, not with tears, but with the overwhelming realization that what happened next might finally change his life forever. Weeks later, the paperwork was complete, and Henry stood alone inside the old shop. Dust floated in the light as he uncovered the small wooden box on the counter, untouched after all those years. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside lay drawings, folded notes, and the letter Emily had written on the night she left. A quiet apology. A plea for him to slow down. A hope that one day he would come looking. Henry sent her a picture of the box and waited by the doorway he once rebuilt. That evening, footsteps approached. Emily stopped in the frame, older, tired, but with the same eyes that once watched him carve toys from scraps of pine. No speeches, no blame. Just a long, shaking embrace, one that carried forgiveness, hidden pain, and a second chance neither of them thought would ever return. In the months that followed, Henry reopened the shop as a small community workshop, exactly as he'd dreamed. A plaque hung above the door, gifted by Lucas, built to last, for the hands that heal a city. And every Saturday, Emily stood beside her father, helping kids learn the craft that had once pulled them apart, but now stitched their lives back together. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.